Hey everyone, I am going to do something a bit different today. I am going to show you a recipe, a very ridiculously easy recipe on how to make your own manna. I want to give a massive shout out to the Promised Land TV series because they posted on their social media how to make manna. The Promised Land TV series is Moses and the Israelites wandering around in the wilderness, but it's told in the style of a mockumentary. So it's like The Office. So it's really funny, but it's also got some really good biblical lessons throughout the show. You can watch it if you're wondering where to watch it. It's on YouTube, which means it's free. Yay. Anyway, so this recipe, the ingredients you will need are 2 cups of flour. I'm gluten-free, so this is gluten-free flour, and it's just plain flour, not self-raising. You'll need salt, cinnamon, coriander. Now, it doesn't actually say in the recipe whether it needs to be coriander seeds or coriander leaves, which also brings up an interesting point. When I was reading in like the different versions in the Bible, they say that manna, some of the versions seem to say that it's white like coriander seeds, but others seem to say that it's like coriander. I'm a little bit confused on that part, but for this, so it probably doesn't really matter if you use actual coriander leaves or coriander seeds, but for this we'll just go with the seeds. And you'll also need honey and some water. Easy, right? So to start, set the oven to 245 degrees Celsius and combine the dry ingredients. Alright, that'll do. We'll need 1 tablespoon of the coriander, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and then 1 teaspoon of salt, although I think it's hard to, turn the salt thing and get an entire teaspoon, so I'll just do it until it looks approximate, which could actually take a while. This is what it should look like right now. So once you've got the dry ingredients, you then slowly pour in the wet ingredients, which is going to be the water and the honey, and then mix until just combined. So we need 1 cup of water. And while we're pouring it in, we can do this nice and slowly, mix it together. Okay, I'll just try and get all of it, or as much of it together, and it's starting to form a bit of a ball, but not really. I mean, it's making it into a ball is going to be the goal here, because it's going to be flat. I haven't tried this recipe in terms of like making the manna other than flat, so that's something that you can try for yourselves if you like. Okay, and then we need 1 tablespoon of honey. I have tried this recipe before, and you can really taste the honey in it. So in a way, it's more of a desserty type thing rather than a savoury, more sweet than savoury. I'll just try and get the rest of the honey. Yeah, I found it really interesting. You can't even taste the coriander in it. I'm not actually sure what coriander is supposed to taste like, but I believe people don't like it. So let's pour the honey, and now we'll stir it up. So this is how it should look. So once you've got your dough forming, it's now done. So now we just have to roll it out into basically a pizza shape. And I'm gonna put the flour on the rolling pin, as well as just sprinkle some on this little area. The size of it is going to be, maybe like the same circumferences as like a basketball or something. All right. It doesn't really need to be a perfect shape or anything, because I assume it didn't look like a perfect shape when the Israelites went to eat it, when they picked it off the ground. So if you were serving this all for yourself, it will take you probably over a week to eat it all. But yeah, it depends on how many people you're serving this for. So yeah, that's sort of how it should look. So I've got my tray. And then carefully put it in. It doesn't matter if it is sort of going over the edges there, I don't think. So long as it's edible rather than anything else. There's no timer on this recipe, so we have to wait until it's crispy and golden. I just wanted to talk about manna while we wait for it. It'll take about 10 minutes. It's kind of like when you're toasting a hot cross bun in the oven, but you have to wait for it and there's no timer. So what we're making here, this is not real manna. You cannot make real manna. You cannot buy real manna. This is, if you have read Exodus, then you will know that manna is basically a supernatural substance that God gave the Israelites to help provide them because they wanted bread. They basically wanted something. They were complaining that God wasn't feeding them in the wilderness. And so every day he would give them this substance that was like, they said it tasted like, it was like kind of like bread with honey, and it was like white with coriander sort of thing. If you are a kinesthetic learner like myself, so you learn by doing things or experiencing things, and I'm not talking about the recipe, I'm talking about the taste. If you want to have an idea of how manna tastes, or how manna could have tasted to the Israelites, then you would have to make your own. It would be a great idea if you're studying the Bible and you're reading Exodus chapter 16, then yeah, if you're studying it, or if you're in a Bible study group and you want snacks, you could try making the manna for doing that passage. It could be a fun, interactive way to have an idea of what the Israelites could have experienced. It says here in my YouVersion Bible app, Exodus chapter 16, verse 31. The people of Israel called the bread manna. It was white like coriander seed and tasted like wafers made with honey. So that is the verse that this recipe is based on. You can see how kind of the flour along the edge is turning gold, sort of. It's not white anymore, which means it's just about ready to be taken out. And I can also smell it at this stage. So I think we're ready to take it out. Okay. And voila, manna that is homemade. Now we just let it cool and then it can be cut up and ready to serve.